Successful individuals that constantly have a busy mind running at 100 miles an hour, you're actually doing yourself more harm than good. We always believe that if you have a busy mind and you're constantly being productive, that you're actually running and operating at the certain level of success that you do feel you need to be able to do. But all that's causing you to do is have a massive case of survival mode, and living in survival mode is one of the most dangerous positions that you could be in, because you're actually causing yourself more harm than good, and the success that you want on top of the stuff that you're already successful in is actually being held off because your nervous system cannot hold anymore. Now, just because you're productive does not mean that you're successful. Just because of that to-do list that you set yourself every single day and don't actually complete it does not mean that you are successful. What's happening is your brain and that noise and that voice inside of your head is running at 100 miles an hour on a daily basis, and you have absolutely no idea how to slow it down. And if you do slow it down and let go and surrender, then your whole world is going to fall apart, and it causes you to battle the mind. Go against it every single day, and you're forcing your days without even knowing how to change it, because you can't be bothered to learn how to change it. Or if you do change it and it doesn't work out and you're so used to having a grip on things, then ultimately you are now just on this hamster wheel of hell. And by the end of this video, I am going to be able to teach you and give you the ways to actually go into life and create more success, because I've been there. Hence why in that introduction I knew exactly how it feels, why it's annoying, how frustrating it is, and what a nightmare it causes you to not even have a great relationship with yourself. First of all, the voice that's going on inside of your head isn't true. The negative voice that you're currently hearing at the moment is something that I like to call the old frequency, the old self, and it's something that will do everything in its power to put you in guilt and shame. You need to be busy. You need to constantly have things going on in your mind. You need to get this to-do list done. You have to work hard to be successful. And ultimately, all that's happening is you're creating a belief system in your minds that if you do not operate at that level, then your success is not actually going to continue, which is complete and utter waffle. In the Bible, it says, "Be still, for I am God." Yet we associate slowing down with actually losing a grip on everything. And that isn't how we need to live. We wasn't born to be busy every single day. God did not sit down and say to you that you need to accomplish 10 tasks a day in order for you to be able to be successful. Emotion is the highest shareholder of our frequency. A frequency is the energetic signal that you put out into the universe on a daily basis, and whatever you operate comes back. Now, if you're constantly in survival mode thinking that you need to do something, I've got to do something, this has to be done, I've got to get this done, you are constantly in lack. You are then signaling that you are currently in lack of what it is that you desire to be successful of. And I feel for these people that battle that voice inside of their head, because I've been a prisoner to that voice inside of my head. And this is why this video is flowing so easily, is because I've been where you have been. And it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's stressful, it winds you up, it makes you hate yourself. You lay on that pillow at the end of the evening and you're constantly stressed, wound up that you didn't get things done, which then adds to guilt, which then adds to shame, which then adds to a low self-esteem. You then scroll your phone to numb your mind and create a little bit of dopamine to make you feel better. Maybe you vape, maybe you drink, maybe you take the other stuff, maybe you sit there jerking off like a loser, because that's what we all do. When the brain has had enough of just constantly being in overdrive, we look for negative vices to take the edge off, which then leads to more guilt and shame. Now, thoughts and our feelings and our actions are so important that they are aligned. But if your thoughts are constantly beating yourself down on a daily basis and your voice is going at 100 miles an hour in your head, then you're never actually truly in the present moment. Now, by that, I want you to understand how much I appreciate the fact that you're watching this video, and I want you to understand that there is a way to shut this noise up, because I have been there myself. I know what it's like. It's absolute torture to not get on with yourself. It drives me insane sometimes. I'm like, why can I not just like myself? Why am I just not compassionate towards who I am as a person? Why can I actually not just enjoy me being me? And it's exhausting, it's tiring, it puts me down, it stresses me out, it wound me up, it got me in bad situations in relationships because I never felt worthy of receiving that love. I never felt fulfilled. I never felt successful. I never felt any of these amazing emotions that I deserved to actually feel because my brain was constantly dictating how I felt about myself. And I used to listen to that voice because I used to think that that voice was me, and it used to drive me insane. I had no control over it, and I didn't even know that I could challenge the negative thoughts that are coming into my head. I just got consumed by it, and I drowned every single day. Now, it wasn't until I started to slow down. See what I did there? Started the video in survival mode, and now we're into the natural flow of how I am on a daily basis. So your thoughts are ruining you. Your mind never switches off. It's because you've programmed yourself to feel safe in that mode. And every single time you sit down to have dinner, every single time you sit down to have some sort of work, your mind is always in 10 to 15 other places. And that is why you are constantly stressed and wound up. It's not normal to be like that. It's not normal to constantly beat yourself up. It's not normal to have a negative relationship with yourself. It's not normal to be compassionate towards you. It's not normal to not really understand how amazing you are as a human being. Now, the next part of this video is going to give you a clear understanding of the damage it's doing. We have something called a nervous system. Our nervous system is the center of all of our success. If we're constantly stressed, worried, in fear, in doubt, thinking that we constantly need to be doing things, then our mind is going to absolutely block more blessings coming in. Because if this success that you currently have is already causing this amount of stress, you're never going to get sent more work in because your energetic ability, how much energy you can actually hold on a daily basis isn't there. It's crushed. It's like trying to put a 1,000-watt light bulb into a 50-watt light bulb. It's just going to explode. I had 2 clients move to Dubai. One of them was already there, and then I worked with the director, and he then moved over. And they were like, we've had no work for the last sort of like 2 or 3 months. Nothing's coming in. We're really panicking. We're really stressing. And I'm like, you was never in the headspace to receive more work. You was flying back for IVF. The other person had just moved to Dubai. If work would have come in, it would have absolutely crushed them. The moment that everything started to settle and the brain started to calm down and the brain started to actually operate from a decent level of peace, they then started to, they think they made £53,000 in the next 3 weeks, which is insane after 2, 3, 4 months of absolutely nothing coming in because they were moving around constantly. Now, we have our mind, and it is so beautiful. But every single thought that creates a repetition that you repeat on a daily basis creates a neuro pathway into the brain. This is going into the neuroscience side of it, so I'll try and keep it on the simpler terms. That then becomes a behavior, that then becomes an identity. The identity then becomes how you operate on a daily basis. And this is how we create belief system, by repetitive thoughts. Now, with them repetitive thoughts, if you're constantly putting yourself down, you're going to have a low self-esteem, you're going to feel like shit, you're going to constantly be in lack, which is not where we want to be. Now, I want you to start to learn that letting go is actually letting in. I want you to start understanding that if you let go, not everything is going to fall apart. When you're going to sit down, relax the face, relax the jaw, and start to move with crystal clear clarity rather than the chaos that's coming on inside of your head. Because that guilt and that shame and that frustration that you're carrying on a daily basis is going to be a signal that you put out into the universe, which is going to magnify and is going to maintain. And then all of a sudden, more problems are going to start coming in. And then you're going to start making clouded decisions within your business. And then your family life is actually going to have a massive impact on that as well. I had a client who was doing 18 months, no work, didn't hire any new staff. And then in 31 days, he made £1 million. But now we're still working together. He's on track for maybe 2.5 million. Now, I didn't make any changes to his business whatsoever, but I just brought him out of survival mode. He was creating to-do lists, not getting any of the work done, and constantly listening to that thought process that he was getting, because the brain was just telling him he's no good, he's going to muck up, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to lose everything. And then that becomes a belief system. That belief system then becomes a reality, and then that reality obviously leads you to struggling with your mind, struggling with your mental health, struggling with everything that just attracted you to the business of running it as being successful, right, is going to completely go down the drain. Everything that attracted you to running that business is just going to fall away. You're going to start hating it. You're going to start resenting it. And what you find normal finds you. So how you see your business, how you see your family, how you see the world is exactly what's going to be magnified by the universe, and then that's going to be maintained. So then you'll start to bring more stuff into your life exactly the same as that. Now, the next part is how you actually come out of this survival mode and get rid of them racing thoughts. The first thing I want you to do is every single day, I want you to sit in silence for 5 minutes minimum, and then add 30 seconds on every single day until you're up to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour. What that then is going to do is going to be like a boat going into the storm. Okay, that means you sitting down is the boat, going into the storm is allowing the thoughts to just come at you at 100 miles an hour. Let them come. Don't get annoyed, don't get angry, just observe them. It's just white noise. And then once the boat has gone through the storm, which is you sitting there for about 15, 20 minutes, the self-awareness will start to come in, and your body and your nervous system will start to calm. That then puts you into the perfect level of peace that you then need to operate at on a daily basis in order for you to be able to have that calm mind. Now, when that mind is calm, any negative thoughts that come in, I just want you to challenge them. So if a thought comes in that you're not good enough, I just want you to say, I do not conform to that belief. That is an old way of me thinking. I deserve absolutely everything and I'm capable of it. That then starts to create a new neuro pathway, which then obviously starts to create a little bit more of a new identity within your brain. And then that then obviously becomes a behavior, and then you won't struggle with any of them thoughts anymore as bad as what you currently are. But always make sure that you breathe and you go into a peaceful state, and you do not let them thoughts consume you. Because if you allow them thoughts to consume you, you're creating new beliefs, and then beliefs will then control you. And we do not want that. Because the only thing is true is what your subconscious mind deems as true. But if you're constantly allowing your mind to be penetrated with negative thoughts, that is then going to become your reality. And we do not want that. This is why you need to start becoming best friends with your mind and that voice in it, because that is the only voice that is with you from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep every single day for the rest of your life. So once you've had your silence in the morning and you're having I do not conform to this belief, okay, they're going to be the two key parts to your day, because you're going to let the negative thoughts come in, because you cannot control the first thought, but you can control the second thought. And our self-talk is what dictates how successful we do become. Your nervous system is going to calm down, because the next part is crucial. You're going to cut out all dopamine. You're going to stop consuming so much on social media. You're going to start being careful of what people are saying around you, what people are currently saying to you, and what your brain is consuming on a daily basis, because that is like a slot machine on your emotions. If you're constantly on social media, it's going to be guilt, shame, lust, war. Someone could be having a traumatic experience and you get that trauma into your brain. You then turn into negative vices to take the edge off, and then all of a sudden you're back at guilt and shame again. And we want to lift that guilt and shame, because you deserve to be living in a joyful state. So once you've removed screen time, put your phone into grayscale, no endless scrolling, sit there and be uncomfortable. So in the evening, sit there in silence. If you get triggered throughout the day, which will then bring your brain into chaos, I want you to respond to situations rather than react. And how you respond is exactly what I just said. I do not conform to that belief. And then how would the future version of you think in this situation? How would he feel in this situation? And how would he act in this situation, and then you move accordingly and create new behaviors. Now, I don't know the exact neuroscience behind creating a new neural pathways and neuroplasticity, all right, so disclaimer on that one. But this is something that I give to myself and I give to all of my clients. And the moment you start to operate from peace, the voice in your head starts to work with you rather than against you. Because what's actually happening now is you have the ability to be able to listen to the intuition that is guiding you to be able to go towards the answers that you're currently waiting for, because the voice is calm. Turn left here, turn right here, email this person, change this on the website, run this, speak to your wife about this, speak to this person about this. Our answers are waiting to come through. But if the mind is chaotic and it is not still, then how on earth do we know what it is that we need to do? Because we're operating from fear. Any situations or actions we do from a fearful state is never going to have a positive outcome. It is jinxed from the start, I promise you that. So really start to understand that it's not just the normal to have your brain going at 100 miles an hour. Please understand that it's not normal to beat yourself up that much. And it is definitely not normal to be consumed by your thoughts on a daily basis and not have a second where you don't challenge them. All right. If someone started arguing with you in public about football team or your relationship, you would challenge that left, right, and center. I need you to start doing that with your brain. All right, but bring yourself into a calm state first, because if you just argue against it, all right, what you actually start to put more pressure on and resist will then start to actually persist. So you want to just relax, challenge the thought in that manner. Your brain will signal that it's not actually a danger anymore. We do not need to constantly fight against it. And you will then start to build a really beautiful relationship with your brain. But remember, you don't need to be angry at everything. You don't need to be annoyed at everything. You don't need to be frustrated at everything. Yes, there's going to be some things that do trigger you, but how quickly can you actually come back to baseline rather than overthinking, stressing, and worrying so much? The last thing I want you to do is read a book called The Surrender Experiment. The Surrender Experiment will teach you about that voice in your head, what is actually going on and why it is so dangerous that you're consumed by it. It will teach you to allow yourself to surrender to the flow of life, because if you were swimming against, if you were in a river and you needed to save your energy, you wouldn't swim against the current, you would go with the flow to save the energy and just ultimately end out at this beautiful waterfall, you hope, unless it was like whitewater rafting, right? So this is why it's so important, all right, that you go with the flow of life rather than going against it. Because the moment you just let go and you just allow things to be and you start moving from the state that the future version of you would be moving, he would be safe, he would be abundant, he'd be happy, he'd be peaceful. You start to attract more of that into your life rather than the stress, the worry, and chaos we tend to carry. I do this with all of my clients and they start to see a massive success within their family life and within their business life. If you're looking for a coach to guide you with this, or you struggle with this, click the link below, book in a call, and I'll be more than happy to have a little chat with you. But ultimately, take them steps that I've given you in this video and I promise you it will take you to a whole new level. I believe in you and you deserve that peace rather than that chaos. Big love, Nelly Movement, baby.